Hi, I'm Ben, the burnt out chef, and today we're going to be making pork tonkatsu with pickled shallots and katsu sauce. Pretty simple. Right, let's get started. So, first, we're going to get our jar ready and start peeling the shallots, and then slice them into thin rings. Yes, I really can slice that fast. Right, so now we get our jar ready and separate the outer few rings, discarding the centre ones, and just put them, all the outer ones, into the jar. Make sure they're all separate. The inner pieces you can save to use for stocks or caramelise them and have them on a burger or something. It'd be really nice. They still taste fine, it's just they don't look right for presentation. Again, yeah, not that fast. So experienced now. And there, screw the lid on, keep them clean. So now we're going to make our pickling fluid. So 350 ml of white vinegar, 250 ml of filtered water, 25 grams of salt, 13 grams of sugar, 1 star anise, 7 grams of chili flakes, 15 grams of Szechuan peppercorns, and then just put it on the hob. So now I'm going to bring it up to the boil. It needs to be really hot because it has to effectively sterilise and cook the shallots in the jar and the jar itself. Just give it a stir. Make sure everything's combined and all the flavours are going through. And then pour it while it's still bubbling into the jar. Be careful, don't spill it on yourself. Sounds easy, but people do. Get it almost full to the top, leaving about 10 ml of room, and make sure you get all the aromatics in the jar. You can also add a clove of garlic if you want. And now seal the jar. Be careful, the jar and everything will be very hot. I have good hands, so I can touch it fairly easy. Now, we're going to be making the katsu sauce. So, 100 grams of ketchup, 30 grams of Worcestershire sauce, 40 grams of oyster sauce, 40 grams of miso paste, 15 grams of fish sauce, and then 20 grams of honey. Make sure you get it all out. Now give that a good mix together. The miso paste will take a while to combine. It may look a bit grainy at first, but it will combine. Just give it a good mix. And now, we're going to put it in a piping bag. You can use any bottle with a small tip, but I prefer piping bags. Just used to them. Just don't cut the end hole until you need it. So just pour it in like that. Scrape it all out. It is quite a thin sauce. And now for the fun part. Spin the piping bag. And yes, these are one-time use disposable piping bags, but they are biodegradable, so it's fine. And just tie it off at the end so it doesn't all spill out everywhere in your fridge. Very annoying. A bit awkward to tie. And then just cut the excess off, not the other side of the knot, just the excess side of the knot. Then you're done. Right, now onto the pork. So make sure you use a sort of good quality butcher. These guys are local to me, they're very good. So, you're going to trim the bone off. You're going to sort of feel where it is, and then sort of cut around it best you can. And you want to sort of use the bone as a guide for your knife to sort of quickly slide it around. You want to keep as much meat together as you can. Now you can save these bones using stalks to amp up a better stock. And now we're going to trim the skin off because you don't want that to be tough. So again, just try and get between the skin and the meat, keeping as much meat on the meat as you can. Just watch your fingers during all of this, because you can lose track of your hands quite easy doing that sort of awkward cuts. So if you hear any weird noises, sorry, my cat is playing around me while I'm doing this voiceover. Right, so now we're going to lay some cling film down, a couple of layers, lay our pork chops on them, and loosely wrap over. And now we're going to get a frying pan and whack them. We need to get them to between 10 and 12 mil thick, so about 1/4 of an inch, or else they'll never cook through and the breadcrumbing will burn. That's about right. Right, now we're going to get another layer of cling film and cover them all in salt. Not too much, but you want a decent amount, and press it right in on both sides. This is because we're going to cure the salt for a minimum of half an hour in the fridge. This just gives it a lot more flavour. I would recommend leaving it a few hours if you can, but no more than, say, 6, or it'll just be too, it won't taste nice. So I'm just going to wrap that up and leave it in the fridge until we're ready. You can sort this out in the morning and have this for tea, whatever. And just make sure it's pressure flat again, because we need it thin. So now, because my panko is quite coarse, I'm going to quickly blitz it in the blender. You want to do it in smaller batches, or it won't be very even. There, should be about that fine. If the pieces are too big, you won't get a very even golden brown on it. So now, I'm going to beat some eggs. I would say do 1 egg per cutlet. I only did 2 eggs because these were big eggs. But I still should have probably done 3 because I've actually ended up running out of egg. So now we're setting up our pan station. We need 3 plates, so any shallow container. And in this one, we'll put plain flour, this one, the egg, and this one, the panko breadcrumbs. We need to remember a wet hand, dry hand method. Now you'll actually see, if you watch carefully, I will forget this halfway through. So some plain flour in the left, spread it out, make sure it's fairly loose. Put the egg in the middle. That's the egg we whisked earlier. And then the panko on the right. You want to save some of the panko in the bowl. It just makes it easier when you breadcrumbing. So you can shove it more on the top without having to scoop it up from the plate. So now, let's try and get our pork sorted. First, with one hand, into the flour. Then using the other hand, which is the dry hand, to mix the flour around and get it evenly coated. You don't want it to be too thick of a coating, but you want every surface to have some flour on it. This is what's going to let everything else stick. So now, using the same hand, we'll place it into the egg without touching the egg, because that's what the other hand is for, the wet hand. Now, sometimes it's best to put your hand behind your back so you don't forget. The problem is, as soon as you forget to put your hand behind your back, you'll forget about wet hand, dry hand technique. So now I'm going to use the wet hand to transfer it into the panko, but don't touch the panko with the wet hand. And now, carefully, put your wet hand behind your back. Just don't get egg all up your back, it's not pleasant. And then just coat the entire chop with panko. It should stick quite well, but you need to sort of press it in so you get a good coating. We are going to be double coating these as well, which you'll see in a minute. So now, we're going to go back into the egg. Don't get too much, but you want a decent amount. And then, back into the panko. And this is where I completely forget about doing wet hand, dry hand. And my hands get all claggy with egg and breadcrumbs and it's awful. You'll see me realise this in a second. Oh yeah, just realised. Right, so yeah, it's done. So it's definitely. Right, so just repeat through the chops. And then I just sit them on a wire cooling rack over a tray. So now we want our oil at about 165 to 170 degrees C. Don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, just use Celsius. And when you lay them away from you, so if it does splash, it doesn't splash into your face. The oil will burn you. It is perfectly safe to deep fry at home, unlike what some people say. People who say that's stupid. But just be careful. Halfway, once it gets lightly brown, flip it. Put it back in. After a while, once it browns up a bit, check the temperature. I like to get sort of 65 to 70 degrees C. That way it's not overcooked, but it's cooked through. And once it gets more golden, give it another flip, because it's quite a small fryer. Then check it again. Yep, check it all over as well, just in case there's any variation in thickness. It's always a little bit. And now, put it onto a wire rack while you fry the rest, and hold it in the oven at, say, 100 degrees. Keep it hot while you do the rest. So now, I'm going to start plating. So first, I'll just show you how crispy the double panko breadcrumbing is. Yeah, that's my knife. It's making a noise. That's how crispy it is. It's amazing. And just carefully cut through it. This is a good quality, sharp German knife. You could just push straight through it, but it'll crack the breadcrumbing because it's so crispy. So don't act like you're a stupid TV chef and blast through it. You'll just ruin it. You want the segments to be very even as well, so just take your time. So now it's on the plate. Just space it out a little bit. You can all breathe. You'll see the steam coming up. Get it arranged nicely. And now, using our little fancy plating tweezers, we're going to put our pickled shallots on. Now I just like to arrange them on top, not overlapping each other. And yeah, it tastes amazing. As you can see by my hands slamming into the counter. So yeah, just lightly put them on. Now, this dish, you could serve it with lots of things. Rice, noodles, but I quite like having it with some nice pan-fried asparagus. You need to get some good colour on it, and do it with some salt, pepper and chilli flakes. It's really nice actually, it works quite well, it's in season. And now we're going to drizzle our sauce out of our piping bag all over it. I have to be careful, but it's not too special. Right, now the important part, taste test. So, where do I start? So I need to get a bit of everything on the fork. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, get that bit. Yeah, it's got a nice lot of sauce on it. Look off. And now, as you can see by the shaky hand and dropping my fork and slapping the counter, it's gorgeous. Yep, going in for seconds, definitely. And honestly, I could eat multiple portions of this, it's just amazing. So, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Hope you come back next time. Bye!